Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. I was honored to be asked to be on John Newman, Sports Card Nation's 100th episode that he had a little while ago, with Brody the Kid and Drew Herndon and John Newman. So very honored and delighted to be on that show. And it was a little bit of a roundtable discussion of a few topics. John is a consummate, and Drew also, and probably Brody as well. Podcasting veterans, social media veterans, and they put their best foot forward. So John had 3 questions that he threw out to the group, and we batted them around. And when I got done, I realized I'd given some spontaneous answers to those questions. Hadn't thought about it that much, and I'm not retracting anything I said. I think what I said stands. It was a live show, so it's regardless of what I think, it's out there now. But I just thought I said some things that I haven't said on my own show, and I thought maybe I should address that. And rather than guard that and start from scratch, I just thought I'd give you the benefit of hearing mostly my remarks on that show. I'm calling it outtakes, but it's really was part of the show. I strongly encourage you to listen to Sports Card Nation. There's a lot of good podcasts out there, and that's certainly one of the good ones. It's one of the ones I absolutely and definitely listen to. So I think it's worthy of your attention. But the issue of how do we get more kids involved, and I'm going to keep dealing with that because I think it's a very important issue. And so I'll play for you the excerpts from that hour and a half, maybe even 2-hour episode. I think it was almost 2 hours. So I'm certainly not going to play that because I'm committed to 15 minutes or less. And so for this, I'm just sharing mostly my own comments that were addressing that. And then I just thought I'd give you a little bit of recap at the beginning of what I've thought after further reflection. So I do think it's important, number one, that everybody, the licensors, the licensees, the dealers, the distributors, and the hobbyists provide a welcoming environment for kids. And you can see I addressed that in some of my comments, that it wouldn't rain on any kids' parade, that you'd encourage them to get involved at whatever level, and that there ought to be levels of participation that financially don't bankrupt a family or a kid. Having said that, just again, consolidating my thoughts, here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see something like a total or 40-man type product that would be a very inclusive, perhaps a 1,000-card set where the base card is important, but again, directed toward kids. So some of these ideas have already been done, but I want to keep it simple. I think it's important when kids get into the industry, into the hobby, that it become understandable to them, that there be some value in the products that are directed to them, and that they see that there's enjoyment in base cards and some value from being a collector that has an eye out for what might be more valuable than something else, but not necessarily with a lottery mentality where everybody loses except the one person who wins big. So with that in mind, I threw out several ideas. The crimping for cards that might be available at card shows, that's been done. So let's set that aside. I still think that's a good idea because it doesn't involve assets. It doesn't involve autographs or game use. So the idea I'm throwing out here, I think would be very understandable to kids. There'd be some value for kids, and the card companies, it would be appealing to them because they're not having to go into their vault to bring out some of their limited autographs or game used or even experience type things that have extra cost. So I'm not saying they couldn't do that, but I'd like to keep it simple and keep it very cost effective and do that for others. I don't think kids have to think, hey, if it's not autographed, it's no good. If it's not game used, it's no good. It's not true. There are base cards that are good. There's some parallels that are good. So here's my idea. Basically, I'd like to see a large product that had 900, 1,000 different cards, mainly individual player cards, not a lot of combos. You could have team cards, things like that, but not necessarily. You could have an insert, and you could have a parallels. In fact, what I'm recommending to keep it really simple is that these are boxes that have a bunch of packs. So not a box with one pack, but a box with 20 packs or 24 packs, something like that, where the cost of the box hopefully is $100 approximately. But again, there are no autographs, there's no game used. And what there is that every pack has an insert of some kind, and every pack has a parallel of some kind. So there's a 1 per pack insert, and there's a 1 per pack parallel. and those are numbered to whatever, and or in case of the insert, it's acknowledged as being not a real tough insert, but an insert nevertheless with a different design that'd be of interest to you. Okay, and then so it's a 10-card pack, and you've got 8 base cards and 1 parallel to the base and 1 insert. It gets kids realizing there are parallels and there are inserts. I think that's important. Secondly, each box would have a more difficult insert. That's a 1 per box, and each box would have a 1 per box parallel. So it might be to a shorter number. Again, this is what kids should know when they open up a box. There are going to be some better stuff in there, and it's simple enough that you could look for the 1 insert per box that has some distinction, and the 1 insert per pack, and the 1 parallel per pack that's maybe like the Topps Golds that are to 2020 or whatever. So it doesn't have to be that tough, but it needs to be identifiable as a better card compared to the base cards. And then the 1 per box could be platinum or diamond or something. It could be numbered to 99. The numbers need to work based on the products they're putting out. But if that's done, then kids could come in not at 13, but at 8 or 9 and understand that when they open up a box or open up a pack, they can expect to have something and not be thinking, if I don't get an autograph or a game used, I struck out. And then hopefully, again, as I said in the show, and again, thanks John Newman for providing that opportunity and this dialogue on that. It's helped me to clarify my thoughts. Just don't rain on their parade. If they got a Mike Trout card, they got a Mike Trout card. And hey, that's great. That's great. He's a great player. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, sponsors, Topps Panini Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins and Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, all the sponsors, and all of us need to be concerned and looking forward to making this hobby more kid welcoming. The card companies, they have licenses from those entities that say what they can and can't do. And if the leagues and the players cut them some slack or said, we need you to do a certain number of kids' products, and we're going to, like I say, cut you some slack for those products to make it so you can be profitable and we can promote the hobby. So that was one idea that came up. The other thing, Brody, is I like your idea, except that, and again, human nature being what it is, if you go to the Target or the Walmart and there's 2 blasters left,
you're probably taking both blasters.
Buy them both. And then if you want to, sell or give one to another kid, but I don't like the chances of leaving one behind because I haven't seen, the kids aren't the ones that are popping in those venues. Yeah. And then another historical thing, back in the day, in the junk wax day, there was a company called Treat.
Oh yeah.
And Treat was a repacker. They did repacking. Yes. And so basically there was an element of kid aspect to that. Yep. Because they were taking some unwanted cards and then putting a chase element in there and repack. I saw their operation; it was absolutely huge, and that it was huge. And they were able to and they could make lower priced packs. That yes, they were in the WalMarts and all those as well. And I don't think some adults went after them, but they were affordable for kids. Yeah. And so I think there's an opportunity for distributors or some enterprising company to do repacks. Yeah. To where you get 100 cards, and maybe only a couple of them are good to a collector, but the other 98 are still collectible to a kid. So there's still some reasonable value there, but so much of what's happened in the hobby now, the price of new product is not driven by what's in that pack as much as driven by what potentially could be in that pack. That is the huge chase number. And so that's not only not friendly to kids and potentially not sustainable, it's troubling even for adults. And so to put in a product that has less variability in terms of what you get in the pack, would be a way to make it more reasonably priced and to bring some kids in. But little kids want what the big kids have.
Yep.
So that's the other dilemma. Hey, John, one more idea. Basically, I'm listening with interest in, like y'all have heard me in some of these other podcasts. I think like an entrepreneur. These are good suggestions, but some of the suggestions that hobbyists have for what the card companies ought to do are not cost effective to them. They have a limited number of assets. So it'd be nice if they gave some autographed and game used, but there's a real cost to that, and there's a scarcity there. On the other hand, it would be great if they came to some of these smaller shows, but again, there's a cost associated with that. So I'm thinking, what are the things that the card companies could do that wouldn't have a cost? One of them would be, and y'all know my second favorite show is Rich's show, because everybody walks in there and gets a bag of cards, and most of them are not great, I've never gotten an autograph card out of there, but I've gotten a prize slip. I've gotten a group of 150 cards and all that. But what the card companies could do, which would have almost essentially no cost to them, is something that Pacific and some of the others did back in the day, is doing a crimping of a base card that makes it a parallel that might be of interest. And if you did that, there's almost no cost to that. You'd have to make sure it was counterfeit proof, but something like that would be very low cost, and you'd maybe only make it available to kids.
Yeah, that's a great
It's got to be something. There's a chase element that doesn't involve game used and autographs, because that's what's driving the prices up for these card companies. I just want to see kids open a pack, and I want the adults not to rain on the kids' parade. If the kid opens up a pack and he gets a Mike Trout card, I don't want the dad or the chaperone or the person to say, yeah, but it's not autographed, or
exactly.
but it's not a parallel, or but it's no game used in it, or no, it's not his rookie card. Just say, hey, that's cool. You got a Mike Trout card. He's a great player, and take care of that card. That's what needs to happen, even if it's a base card, and not, let's take that right over to BGS and get it graded. It needs to be appreciated for just the fact that it was simpler days back in the day. You just had a card of the player.
Is